Hello everyone and welcome back. These are Alteryx tutorials. I am Mark Thompson with Watermark Data. Today's session is going to be weekly challenge number 120. It's a fundamental session. And the business question we want to answer is we've got this file and it's got two fields. You can see where there are name, gender, and count. And we've got a file name that they came from. And we want to get it into a form where we understand what was the most popular male and female name for each year, starting from 1880 all the way through, well, it only goes up to the first 100 rows, but you can see we have 2 million records here. And when we get done, we want it to look something like this, where we can see what the year is with going through 2017 and what the male name, what the count, what the female name, and what the count. Let's go ahead and get started. As I said, we start off with a simple file, and it's got two columns. And the first thing we want to do is we want to break out the information that is in these columns. And so we take, and we've got a column to split in our text to columns, and we delimit it with a comma. As you can see in this initial row, we've got commas separating them. And when we get done, we've got those initial two columns, as well as we have the name, the gender, and the count. The next thing we want to do is capture what year did this come from, and that is in this file name portion. To do that, there are a number of ways that we could handle it. In our case, we're going to use a simple text formula that says, hey, capture the right 8 characters, which txt dot year, digit. And then we're going to capture the left 4 of that. And yes, I could have used a regex. So there's a bunch of ways to do this. I happen to do it this way this time. And what you get at the end is a result, and we called it our new output column. We called it year. And so now we have isolated the 4 digits right there, the 1880. And what year is it from? As you can see, if we scroll down, the first 81,000 records here. Next, for those of you who watch my videos, you know that I like to keep things clean. So let's go ahead and get rid of those columns, as well as change this. So we changed the year to a fixed decimal. That way we can sort on it by year because it's a digit, an integer. We changed the names on the others to say, let's turn it into a name. Let's call this gender, and let's call this count. So before it looked like this, where it was simply the initial 2 plus a 1, 2, 3 and a year, because we did identify that here. And now we're changing the names on the 1, 2, 3 to say name, gender, and count. So we started out with the year. Next, we want to identify what was the max count, group by year, group by gender, and count. What was the max count? And then what we do is we join it back to this set of data. So we've got this. We've got it sorted, by the way, by year, by gender, by count. Then we do a sum. Then we join it back. We do this so that we can capture what is the name for each of those max counts. Here we have the max count. Here we're joining it back on year and gender and count so that we've got the year, the gender, and the count. And we pull in from our data here, because we've got these 3 columns, and what we want is the names. So now we have the year, the name, the gender, and the count. Again, let's go ahead, and I think in this case, and this is an important little tip, I stuck this select on here as a way to develop the query itself. And one of the things that you can do is you can right click and you can cache and run workflow. And what that means is you don't have to sit around, and I can demonstrate this on this video because it's very short. But even with this, I don't have to wait around the 6.2 seconds because all of the data gets cached right at this point. So all these calculations and joining that happens before it no longer is taken into account. So you can see here it's 6.2 seconds. If I run this now, it's 0.4 seconds. So the idea, especially when you're working with bigger flows, is that you can have a cache point in the middle. You're good, you're happy with all of this work that you've done, and you don't need to rerun it and you don't want to wait. So as you develop these last couple here, in this case, it's only 3 tools. In this case, I didn't need this because 6 seconds is fine. However, if you're running a bigger flow and you don't want to have to wait for the first part of it to run because you've got the flow working up to that point, go ahead and cache it and then work on this last bit. It will speed up your, hey, let's try this. Hit the run and 0.4 seconds. Boom. Okay. That's a good, when you have, and I didn't do it, by the way, on this join, because on the join, it's got multiple outputs, it won't cache. Toss in a select statement, do the cache on it, and then finish developing. Here, we're going to turn this into 2 streams. We're going to say, hey, what's our male and what's our female? So these are all, we click on this anchor, outgoing, and we've got 138 male. We click on this anchor, and we've got 138 female. We take and we join them back together immediately. And now we've got them side by side. And of course, we don't need the gender and the year. We've got, and we take, and if you look, I'm going to expand this a little bit. Now we can also rename this and say the male count and the male name, the female name and the female count. And so those become our headers. Here is our year. Here is our count. And this produces our final output in the browser. All right, I am Mark Thompson. This has been Watermark Data. You've been watching Alteryx tutorials. Please hit like, please hit share, subscribe to the channel, let your friends know. And we will see you next time.